Look, I've kept my mouth shut for as long as I could, but what's happening at the compound right now is something you need to hear from someone who actually knows the family. I'm Amy King, and I'm telling you, Anna Duggar is gone. For years, I've watched her suffer in silence, trapped by a loyalty that was never returned. But today, the silence broke. While Jim Bob was busy trying to fix the family's image, Anna was quietly making calls, packing bags, and securing a future for her 7 children far away from Arkansas. I've seen the heartbreak and I've seen the fear. But for the first time, I'm seeing Anna's courage. She isn't just leaving a house, she's leaving an empire that has crumbled from its own weight. If you think you know the whole story, you don't. Stay with me for the next hour because I'm about to reveal exactly how Anna made her escape and why the Duggar name will never be the same again. I've spent years watching the Duggar family from the outside looking in, even though my own blood runs through that house. For a long time, I was the rebel cousin because I chose to wear pants and live a life of my own. But while the world was focused on my clothes, I was focused on the women inside that compound, specifically Anna. A few weeks ago, my phone rang at 200 a.m. I almost didn't answer, but when I saw the restricted number, something told me to pick up. On the other end, there was no greeting, just heavy, shaky breathing. Then a voice I barely recognized, thin, exhausted, but filled with a sudden, sharp clarity. It was Anna. She didn't start with small talk. She said, "Amy, I can't breathe here anymore." For a decade, Anna has been the ultimate soldier for the Duggar brand. She stood by Josh through things that would have broken anyone else. She was told that her loyalty was her ticket to heaven and that Jim Bob would always provide for her children. But she told me that night that the upper vision had turned into a cage. Jim Bob's control wasn't just about money, it was about every breath her 7 children took. Anna realized that as long as she stayed in Arkansas, her kids would never be more than props for the Duggar legacy. She told me about a meeting in the big house where Jim Bob laid out a plan to put her children back on camera for a new web series to save the family finances. That was her breaking point. Anna looked at her children who have already suffered enough, and she decided she wouldn't let their trauma be sold for clicks. We talked for 2 hours. She was terrified. She knew that leaving meant losing everything, her home, her community, and her support system. But then she said something I'll never forget. "I'd rather be poor and free in Texas than a queen in a golden cage in Town." That phone call wasn't just a cry for help. It was a declaration of war. Anna wasn't asking for my permission. She was asking for a way out. And as her cousin, as someone who has fought for my own freedom, I told her exactly what she needed to hear. Run, Anna. Run and don't look back. In this first part of our story, I'm taking you inside those secret preparations, the late night packing, the hidden documents, and the moment Anna Duggar finally stopped being a victim and started being a mother. Once the decision was made, the clock started ticking. You have to understand, leaving the Duggar compound isn't as simple as just driving away. Jim Bob has eyes everywhere in Town. If he suspected for 1 second that Anna was truly done, he would have used every legal and spiritual authority. He has to keep those 7 grandchildren under his roof. Anna knew she couldn't do this alone. While I was talking to her from my home, her sisters in Texas, specifically Priscilla, were already coordinating the logistics. They didn't use normal phone lines. They used encrypted apps because they knew how deep the surveillance goes. The plan was dubbed Operation Sanctuary. In the middle of the night, while the big house was silent, Anna didn't take a moving truck. She took only what could fit in her SUV, diapers, birth certificates, and the few personal items she truly owned. She drove out of Arkansas with her headlights off until she hit the main highway. I stayed on the phone with her for the first 50 miles, just listening to the sound of the road and her children sleeping in the back. The fear in her voice was slowly being replaced by something I hadn't heard in years: hope. By sunrise, she crossed the Texas border. Her sisters had arranged a safe house, a private property owned by a family friend, far away from any cameras or known Duggar associates. When she arrived, Priscilla was there waiting with open arms. No judgment, no lectures about staying for the sake of the ministry, just a bed, a meal, and safety. Jim Bob was frantic when he realized she was gone. He didn't just lose a daughter in law, he lost his most loyal soldier and 7 of his heirs. I've heard he sent people to look for her, but Texas is a big state, and the Wismans and Kellers have formed a protective circle around her that he can't break. For the first time, the gates of the Duggar Empire couldn't keep someone in. Anna found her sanctuary. And for those 7 kids, life finally started without a production crew watching their every move. The moment Anna crossed that state line, the entire legal game changed. Jim Bob Duggar has spent decades mastering the courtrooms of Arkansas, but Texas, that's a whole different territory. And believe me, Anna wasn't just running away. She was running toward a legal system that actually prioritizes the safety of children over patriarchal traditions. I spoke with the legal advisors who are assisting Anna's sisters. They've built what they call a legal shield around her. You see, Jim Bob's power in Arkansas comes from his connections. But in Texas, Anna's team immediately filed for emergency temporary orders. These orders are a nightmare for Jim Bob because they legally establish Anna's residency in Texas and grant her sole decision-making power for the kids while Josh is incarcerated. Jim Bob tried to fight back. He had his lawyers argue that the children were habitual residents of Arkansas and that they belonged back at the compound. But here's the kicker: because of Josh's federal conviction, the Texas courts are taking a very hard look at the environment the children were living in. Anna's testimony about the media pressure and the lack of privacy at the big house has been devastating. The court saw that Jim Bob wasn't just a grandfather, he was a manager trying to reclaim his assets. The most powerful part of this shield is the anti-exploitation clause. Anna's lawyers have secured an injunction that prevents any third party, including Jim Bob or any media company, from filming, photographing, or profiting from her children without a court order. This effectively cuts off the oxygen to Jim Bob's financial fire. He can't sell their stories, he can't put them on YouTube, and he can't use them to rebuild his brand. For the first time, Jim Bob is finding out that his authority doesn't mean anything to a Texas judge. Anna isn't just a wife anymore. She's a protected mother under the full weight of the law. The legal wall has been built, and Jim Bob Duggar is on the outside looking in. When the legal walls started closing in, Jim Bob Duggar went back to his oldest and most reliable weapon: money. You see, for years, Anna didn't have a bank account in her own name. Every dollar for groceries, clothes, and gas came from the Duggar family trust, which, as we all know, is just another name for Jim Bob's checkbook. I'll never forget the text messages Anna showed me. After she reached Texas, Jim Bob didn't send a message of concern for his grandchildren. Instead, he sent a cold, calculated ultimatum. He told her that if she didn't return to Arkansas within 48 hours, the allowance for the children would be cut to zero. He threatened to stop paying for their health insurance and even mentioned that this UV she was driving, the one she used to escape, was technically owned by one of his LLCs, and he would report it as stolen. It was pure financial blackmail. He was trying to starve her into submission. He thought that without his money, she would crumble and crawl back to the compound. He told her, "You have no job, no skills, and 7 mouths to feed. How long do you think you'll last without me?" But Jim Bob made one massive mistake. He forgot that Anna has a family too. And he forgot that some of us cousins have been waiting for this moment for a long time. When the Texas sisters found out about the threats, they didn't flinch. They gathered their own resources, and I personally helped set up a private legal fund for her that Jim Bob can't touch. But it gets even darker. Sources tell me Jim Bob offered Anna a settlement, a massive lump sum of cash, on one condition: she had to sign a lifetime non-disclosure agreement CNDA and return to the family media brand. He was willing to pay for her silence, but he wasn't willing to pay for her freedom. Anna looked at that offer, looked at her children, and for the first time in her life, she said, "Keep your money." She realized that a life of debt to Jim Bob Duggar was more expensive than being broke and free. The golden handcuffs have finally been cut. The walls of the big house in Tontatown have always been thick, designed to keep the world out and the secrets in. But since Anna and those 7 kids vanished into the Texas night, the silence inside that mansion has been replaced by a storm of internal fighting. As someone who still hears the echoes from inside those walls, I can tell you the Duggar Empire isn't just falling, it's imploding. Jim Bob Duggar is a man who thrives on control, and right now, he has none. I've heard from sources close to the situation that the atmosphere is toxic. Jim Bob is looking for someone to blame. He's turned his anger toward the older sons, accusing them of being weak and letting Anna escape. But the boys are starting to push back. They've seen the way Jill, Jinger, Jana, and now Anna have found peace outside, and the younger brothers are no longer falling in line like they used to. Michelle, from what I'm told, is caught in the middle of a nightmare. She lost her daughter-in-law and 7 of her grandchildren in a single night. She's reportedly devastated, but Jim Bob is so focused on the legal war and the media fallout that he has no room for her grief. There are rumors of shouting matches, something unheard of in a house where everyone was taught to keep sweet. But the biggest crisis is the workforce gap. Lena was doing so much of the heavy lifting when it came to managing the younger kids and the day-to-day chaos. With her gone and no cameras there to provide a distraction, the family is forced to look at their own broken reality. The big house has become a lonely, cold fortress. Jim Bob is desperately trying to stage a happy family photos for social media to prove they are still united, but the kids aren't smiling like they used to. The mask hasn't just slipped, it's shattered. The big house is no longer a home. It's a monument to a legacy that no one wants to inhabit anymore. What I'm about to tell you right now is the final nail in the coffin for the Duggar Empire. For years, Anna has been conditioned to believe that protecting the family secrets was her only purpose. But sitting in that safe house in Texas, Anna has made a decision that is Jim Bob Duggar's absolute worst nightmare. Anna Duggar is preparing to give her first ever tell all interview. Yes, you heard that right. Anna told me personally that she is done living by someone else's script. Jim Bob has always controlled the media narrative, but this time Anna wants to go directly to the public without any editing or censorship. In this interview, she is planning to expose how she was forced to help cover up Josh's crimes and why she felt she couldn't speak up until now. When Jim Bob got word of this, he went into a full-blown panic. He has been threatening Anna's sisters and sending legal notices to major networks to try and shut this down. But Anna is standing her ground. She is in talks with a major streaming platform that is offering her and her children full protection and financial independence. This isn't just a gossip session. This is the story of a mother fighting against a decade of darkness. Anna said something to me that stuck in my soul. She said, "For so long, I was known as Josh's wife, but from now on, I only want to be known as my children's mother. When this interview drops, there will be no Duggar brand left to save. The truth is finally coming out, and this time it's coming from Anna's own voice. The empire isn't just falling, it's being demolished. When Jim Bob Duggar realized that legal threats wouldn't stop Anna from talking, he tried to do what he does best: manipulate the family dynamic. He organized what he called an emergency family unity meeting via Zoom. He wanted every single adult Duggar child, including those who have moved away, to join and counsel Anna back into silence. I heard from a source who was actually on that call, and they described it as an absolute train wreck. Jim Bob started the meeting with a sermon about protection and the family name. He tried to frame Anna's interview as a betrayal of her children's future. But then the unthinkable happened. One by one, the siblings started pushing back. Instead of convincing Anna to stay quiet, the meeting turned into a platform for everyone else's grievances. Jill and Derek were there, Jinger was there, and they stood up for Anna. They told Jim Bob that the era of secrets was over. The younger brothers, who usually stay quiet, didn't defend their father. The silence on the call when Jim Bob asked for loyalty was deafening. Anna was on the call for exactly 5 minutes. She didn't argue. She didn't cry. She simply said, "I've spent 10 years listening to you, Jim Bob. Now it's the world's turn to listen to me." And then she clicked leave meeting. Jim Bob was left staring at a screen of black boxes and silent faces. It was the moment he realized he wasn't the head of a dynasty anymore. He was just a man alone in a big, empty house. The Zoom disaster proved that the Duggar unity was just a myth created for television, and now even the myth is gone. If there is one thing Jim Bob Duggar loves more than control, it's the money that provides it. For nearly 2 decades, the Duggar family was a goldmine for TLC, bringing in millions of dollars. But here is the question that has been haunting the older kids for years: where did all that money actually go? Anna has finally stopped asking and started demanding answers. Living in that safe house in Texas has given her a new perspective and a new set of lawyers. I've learned that Anna has officially requested a full financial audit of the Duggar family trust. She specifically wants to know the exact earnings generated by her 7 children during their years on 19 kids and counting on. You see, for years, Jim Bob told the kids that the filming wasn't work. It was a ministry, but we all saw the paychecks. Jill Duggar already blazed this trail when she had to fight just to get a fraction of what she was owed. And now Anna is following suit. She knows that her children's futures depend on that money, especially with Josh in prison and unable to provide. The rumors from the compound are that Jim Bob is scrambling. An audit doesn't just show the balance, it shows the receipts. It shows how much was spent on legal fees for Josh, how much went into real estate, and how much was kept from the very children who were the stars of the show. Anna isn't just looking for a handout, she's looking for what was stolen from her kids under the guise of faith. This audit could be the final blow that bankrupts the Duggar Empire once and for all. We've covered the escape, the legal battles, and the financial scandals. But today, I'm sharing the most personal update of all. The moment that truly signals the death of the Duggar influence over Anna. I was on a video call with her just yesterday, and she showed me a document that made us both burst into tears. It was a petition for a legal name change. Anna is officially dropping the Duggar name for herself and her 7 children. She told me, Amy, that name has become a burden my children shouldn't have to carry. It's a name associated with scandals, pain, and a legacy of control. By reclaiming her maiden name or choosing a new path, she is effectively erasing Jim Bob's brand from her identity. This isn't just about paperwork, it's about a complete severance of the soul. She is no longer Anna Duggar, the faithful wife. She is simply Anna, a woman who survived when Jim Bob heard about the name change. It hit him harder than the lawsuit. To him, the name is everything. It's the franchise. Without the Duggar name, those 7 grandchildren are no longer part of his empire. They are just kids living a normal life in Texas. The severance is total. Anna has blocked his number, changed her legal status, and started a new chapter where big house rules don't exist. As we close this story, look at the strength it took for her to get here, from a compound in Arkansas to a new life of freedom. The Duggar Empire didn't just fall because of the scandals, it fell because the people inside decided they deserved better. Anna is finally free, and for the first time in 20 years, the future looks bright. Thank you for staying with me through this journey. The truth has finally set them free.